welcome everyone to our Disaster Recovery Week. This is the Greater Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce, and my name is Nancy Pelton, and I'm President and CEO. We're thrilled that we have brought you an entire week of fabulous presentations, and I hope you check out every single one of them. We have everything from your disaster recovery checklist to insurance and cybersecurity and to mitigation and what to do if you should have a claim, an insurance claim. So we're very excited because today we have the CEO of 5-Star Claims Adjusting, Kevin Downs. He is a public adjuster and just a fabulous company. They are well known in the Brevard County community, and we certainly appreciate them taking the time to talk about, for businesses and people themselves, what they can do if they happen to have a disaster happen and have a claim. So Kevin, I will turn this over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nancy, and the team over at the Chamber. It's our privilege, our honor to be able to speak and hopefully make some more of our neighboring businesses and neighboring people that live here in the area just a little bit more aware of some things that they can do in advance to give them the best possible chances to remain safe and also be able to restore their property should they have a disaster. So thank you.
Okay, well, I'll turn it over to you. I'm going to pop off and let you share your screen, and we look forward to the information that you're about to provide. And I know the City of Palm Bay is thrilled as well. They are our co-hosts on this, and they're just thrilled to bring this information to the entire community. So I wanted to do a nice shout out for the City of Palm Bay, and it's all yours, Kevin, so you can take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hopefully you are seeing our screen now with the little bit of the presentation that we had put together. I'm assuming you guys can see that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So the title of our presentation, The Real Story on Insurance Recovery After a Disaster. Again, I just want to kind of educate you all from the perspective of being a public adjuster, which is an insurance adjuster that is appointed by the Florida Department of Financial Services, the state of Florida, to represent the property owner and the business owner, not the insurance company. So a completely different perspective from adjusters that actually work for you, not the insurance company. And so hopefully you'll get some valuable tips out of this. One of the things I wanted to mention, our area was hit, I guess it's been almost 3 years now, by Hurricane Irma. And I'm looking for this screen to advance, funny enough, technology. But either way, you know, it's been almost 3 years. We're coming up on, there we go, coming up on the 3-year anniversary of Hurricane Irma, which was when our area was last hit by a hurricane, which is obviously a form of disaster. And one of the things that is very shocking, if you look at these statistics, if you look at the commercial property statistics, there were 60,000 claims filed for Hurricane Irma. And of those, 25,000, almost 50% of them, were closed without a single payment. Not $1 was paid to nearly 50% of those commercial property owners. And so, you know, again, I would like to think that our hope today is that you can gain some valuable tips and some insight. And perhaps if you do have a situation where your property has been damaged, you'll be able to successfully recover the funds that you would need to restore your property. So this was a weather map that we had actually purchased years ago from Irma, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the widespread effects. Irma hit Naples, and here we are. If you look up near Merritt Island, 83-mile-an-hour winds. Down here in Palm Bay, 76-mile-an-hour winds, 75, 86. You know, so Irma was very widespread. So even if a storm doesn't make a direct landfall right here in Brevard, one of the things that Irma taught us was the storms can be very far away and still have hurricane force effects on our property. So once warnings have been issued or watches have been issued, it's important that we begin to just at least make preparations. Hopefully it never comes here to our backyard, but it's good to be prepared. Better safe than sorry. And so in the state of Florida, there's 3 types of adjusters. And the first two work for the insurance company. So you have an insurance company adjuster. That's an adjuster that's employed directly by the company. Then you have an independent adjuster. Now, this is going to be the most common type. And so if you have a disaster event and you happen to have an insurance policy and you file a claim, one of these two adjusters is going to be sent out by your insurance company. The independent adjusters can work for multiple insurance companies, and they can come from really all over the country. So one of the things that you want to just maybe make note of is who it is that's coming out, where are they coming from, what is their background. A lot of times after these disasters, we will have adjusters that will come into our area from the insurance companies, and they are from Idaho or Iowa or Wyoming. And, unfortunately, they just don't build things the way that we build here in Florida. And so quite often, we'll have some very frustrated clients that just don't understand why they can't simply just, patch their roof or put a little silicone on their windows or what have you. But the first two adjusters, they work for the insurance companies. The third adjuster on this screen, the public adjuster, that is the only licensed adjuster in the state of Florida that is actually appointed to represent the owners. And it's very important you understand that. So, if you happen to have a disaster and you contact your insurance company, please understand that the adjuster that's coming out is employed by the insurance company. They are not employed by you. And so ultimately, you're going to have to decide how to construct your claim package, how to tell them what you believe you should be getting paid, as opposed to sitting back and allowing them to decide what they would like to pay you. That's an important factor there. And then lastly, we had seen some situations where following these disasters, a lot of contractors and quote unquote consultants were actually going around to individuals and businesses and essentially offering to help with the claim and negotiate the claim. And unfortunately, they're not licensed, not appointed to be able to do that. And so you just want to be very cautious of that. If you happen to have somebody that approaches you that says they will take care of the claim for you or they will help you with your insurance company, first question should be, are you licensed to do so? What is your public adjuster license number? And then you can very quickly and easily look that up in the department. We do see people sometimes acting as consultants. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with a consultant, consultants are not regulated. And so if things don't go well, you really don't have anybody you can call to rein them back in, so to speak. So you just want to be cautious with that. When in doubt, get some good advice, prior to signing anything or engaging anything in terms of a disaster, especially when, you're at your wit's end, so to speak, or desperate for some assistance. And so here's a study that was done in the state of Florida. This was actually done several years back by the Office of Program Policy Analysis and Government Accountability. Try to say that 3 times fast. We just simply say OPAGA. But this is the OPAGA report. What they found is in Florida, when property owners have their own public adjuster, that's an adjuster that works for the owner, like what we do, then on average, they would receive 747% more money on their claim than if they simply allowed the insurance company's adjusters to tell them what they should pay them. And so this is pretty powerful. These are statistics that aren't necessarily being put together by us. This was actually put together by the OPAGA, and just very, very powerful information. So again, there are advocates out there. If you find yourself after a disaster with some property damage and you need a hand, please know that the state of Florida does license and appoint adjusters for you, the property owner, to assist with that claims process. And so somebody should be the quarterback, right? Obviously, this guy is a champion and has won many Super Bowls. But if you're faced with a claim, you're faced with a disaster and a situation where you're trying to now restore your property and keep everyone safe and continue with your business operations, or even dealing with your own personal home, somebody should be designated to be the quarterback of that process. Why? Because I believe that handling a claim is essentially a full-time job. And those of you that have dealt with the insurance companies, you know that it can be a rather daunting task. Lots of people want to come out, they want to inspect, they're going to write estimates, they may even want to take recorded statements, they may ask you for tons of documentation. And so naturally, choosing this individual, choosing this person to be designated as your primary quote unquote quarterback for the claims process is a critical factor, and something that that you should certainly be considering after a disaster, or even before, in fact, so you know exactly who you would be contacting should you need a hand, should we have some sort of a disaster in the area. And so what sort of claims, what sort of damages do we see following a disaster? You know, right now, a lot of businesses are dealing with business interruption, loss of profits, loss of revenues as it relates to the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a lot of clients that we're dealing with in terms of that, trying to assist them in making recoveries from their insurance company and the policies that they have. And the jury is still out. There's a ton of back and forth between the property owners, the business owners, and the insurance companies, and whether or not they're going to actually pay these claims and so forth. But, you know, after a disaster, typically you're going to see a lot of property damage. You know, usually in our area, disasters look like floods or hurricanes. You know, we don't usually get big blizzards and snowstorms down here, but who knows when that might start happening. You know, so, but as you can imagine, there's all sorts of things that take place, you know, in a disaster, and even frankly, just on the everyday commonalities. So here we've made a list of tons of things that we see along the way, you know, concerns of mold, water damage inside, you know, wind damage to your roofs, to your windows, things of that nature. Obviously, if you're a business or a commercial property owner, and your business is out of business for the time being, or, you know, power's out, you can't serve your customers. So there's all sorts of great benefits in policies, but policies can be very complex. And so knowing what's in your policy, especially ahead of time, is pretty powerful, pretty smart. And how long do you have to file is another question we get all the time. So basically, any sort of claim with your insurance company, you would have up to 5 years per se, unless it is related to a windstorm or a hurricane. Then that time horizon is shortened to 3 years. And that actually brings us back to what we had mentioned initially when we looked at Hurricane Irma, which is now coming up on the 3-year anniversary. So business owners, individuals, you know, you have 3 years for a windstorm or hurricane claim to either open a new claim or reopen an existing claim. 5 years on other types of claims. So things like plumbing breaks or an AC overflow or mold or lightning strikes, you know, things of that nature. Particularly disaster related. I think we deal mostly, like I said, with floods, with hurricanes. Flooding in and of itself is a very unique animal because it is primarily regulated by the federal government. So those timelines are shortened even further if you find yourself as a part of a flooding event. You know, then you could have as little as, you know, 60 days to get a proof of loss filed, which is an extremely short amount of time. Typically what we've seen when areas are hit with disasters and flooding as part of that, usually FEMA, the federal government, will extend those deadlines, typically up to a year, to give you time to prepare those claim forms and get them filed. But I would say if you could certainly take something away from this presentation, you know that there are public adjusters, there are advocates for you. And so if you find yourself in a situation where your business is damaged or your property is damaged, at a minimum, get some free advice. You know, it does not hurt to get some information, get some advice, and just make better decisions, better choices. You would hate to find yourself left out because you missed a deadline. And so how do I pay my deductible? And, you know, that's a question we get all the time. You know, interestingly enough, the deductibles, they actually come off of the top of the claim estimates. And so there's really no specific area per se that you would have to necessarily pay your deductible. And so, you know, what does that mean? Let's take an easy example. We were hit with a storm And so you have some roof damage, you've had some interior leaking, you know, some of your ceilings are damaged. And so you get a claim estimate from your insurance company, and of course they reduce it by the amount of the deductible. Well, you could certainly apply your deductible towards fixing your ceilings. You could apply it towards the food that you lost in the fridge if your power was out. You could apply it to your fence that went down if you have coverage for your fence. And so there's a lot of areas where you can apply your deductible. You don't have to necessarily put it specifically towards your roof or towards your windows and things like that. We've even had clients who chose to fix their ceilings themselves as part of the application of their deductible, as opposed to actually writing a check to a contractor, which is 100% acceptable. So, you know, if you ever have questions in terms of your deductible and who do you need to pay that to and how does it need to be paid, again, you know, here in Florida, our great state of Florida, you know, they appoint adjusters that look out for the owners, public adjusters. And so, you know, get some free advice on that. Call and ask some questions and get the information before you make a decision about whether or not you're going to write a check to a contractor or exactly how you plan to apply your deductible. And then here's another big question we get all the time. Do I have to get 3 estimates? And obviously the answer is no, you do not. I've never seen a policy that required the insured to get 3 estimates prior to them being paid. And so the answer is no, you do not have to get 3 estimates. If you find yourself in a situation where the insurance company is frustrating you or you're having some challenges recovering the funds that you need, again, in the state of Florida, there is such a thing as a public adjuster, an insurance adjuster for the owners. My recommendation is, you know, contact one, if not our company, someone, and get some information, get some advice, and get the facts about exactly how to recover the funds you need to properly restore your home or your business.
Hi guys, my name's Rich with PRC, providing hurricane preparedness tips for this storm season. When preparing for a storm, you have 3 main water points of intrusion: your roof, your soffits, and windows and doors. In preparing for this, you want to give a thorough inspection of your roof and soffits. If your soffits are blown out or missing, you can have wind lift and unnecessary pressures on your roof. Your roof and the condition and the overall shape on top, where shingles blow off, tiles can blow off, metal panels can be removed, and they can be projectiles towards neighbors' homes as well as your own. Windows and doors are known as silent rivers. Sometimes most people don't know if their windows are blown out and they have water intrusion and it starts to leak on the interior of the home. Any of these 3 areas can open up. If you have water intrusion in the hot, humid Florida sun, mold can set in immediately and cause you further damage.
And so at our company, one of the things that we offer, especially to our neighbors here in Brevard and some of the surrounding areas, is a priority inspection program. So we have a program that's completely free. There's no cost. But ultimately, what we do is we actually allow you, the owner, the business owner, the property manager, to enroll into this program. And essentially, what we do is we'll do a free policy review. So we'll review your insurance policy ahead of time before the disaster, and we'll point out any areas where maybe you're just not aware of some dangerous things that are not an advantage to you that perhaps we want to have either taken out of there or changed. And then we also offer a free inspection of the property itself. And essentially, the reason we do that is we issue a certificate of good condition to you, meaning we didn't see any pre-existing conditions, quote unquote. And so, you know, the beauty in that is if a new storm or a new disaster happens to hit and your insurance company says, you know, our engineers believe this stuff was already here, obviously we would easily be able to advocate that as of, you know, July 2020, those items were not there. We were there. We have the photos to back it up. And of course, that pays huge dividends in the situation where you are faced with new damages and you're being told that those were already there. And then lastly, because of our size, because of the fact that we've helped over 30,000 Floridians throughout the last 14 years, you know, we have a lot of clients. And we certainly want to enroll you all into the priority inspection program as well, where when a storm hits, you don't have to actually call us. We're already going to be reaching out to you, scheduling our adjusters, our licensed adjusters to come out and inspect your property and determine if there was in fact any damages and if you're owed a recovery. Naturally, that's exactly what we would be able to do, is to help you go and receive those funds as quickly as possible so that you can restore your property. And if we come out after the storm and there are no issues, that's great too, because we will, like I said, document that and certainly put you in a position where if we have a future event, you would be much more apt to be able to recover, as opposed to having a carrier that might believe that those things were there prior. And so, and we do this, like I said, all over Brevard, and in fact, expanding it into much of the state of Florida. And so here's an example of the certificate of good condition. So we come out, we do a free inspection, document the overviews of the building envelopes and things like that, just to assure us that things are in great shape in terms of storm damage and so forth, issue you a certificate of good condition, and then we house the data so that if we have a future event, like I said, and your carrier believes that things were there prior, we could certainly help overcome that with you. And so what can you do to be best prepared? You know, obviously we all love Jerry Maguire, right? Help me help you. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in the boardroom with a condo association or a large group, you know, that owns buildings, properties, things like that. And hindsight is always 20/20, right? So some of the best preparation is before the disaster hits, before the storm hits. And so a couple of things, again, that we recommend, you know, the free policy review, the free baseline inspection, being a part of the priority inspection program. I mean, those are all smart things to do for both individual homeowners and business owners, because ideally you never need it, but if you need it, it'll be great to have it. And so that would be the recommendation. And then lastly, you know, we're here again, you know, free advice for any of you that ever have any questions, any concerns, whether it's related to the pandemic that we're dealing with and the loss of business revenues, or whether it's a roof issue, a plumbing issue, a disaster, you know, flooding, things of that nature. If we can't get you the answer, we can certainly help find somebody who can. And so thank you once again from all of us here at 5-Star Claims Adjusting, and thank you to the Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce and to Nancy and the team.
Well, thank you, Kevin. That was fascinating. Actually, lots of great information. When you said about the priority inspection program, how often should somebody reach out to you? Like, is it yearly that you come out and they get the certificate, or is a certificate good for a few years, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So yes, it's actually an annual review and inspection that we perform. So once they're enrolled, we actually reach out to them annually just to give them a heads up. Hey, you know, your policy's coming up for renewal. We want to make sure if there's anything new that's either being changed or put in there, that you're at least aware of it. And then also the inspections, the free inspections that we do, those are annual as well. And interestingly enough, I just saw through a blog in our industry, a very big insurance company had made some changes, and they didn't have to necessarily spell them out per se. And the property owner wasn't aware, filed a claim, found out after the fact that it was not good for them. They are now not getting paid. And amazingly, the courts upheld that and said, nope, they didn't have to spell that out for you. So, you know, buyer beware, right? The devil in the details kind of thing. Anybody that's paying for insurance that owns property, if you would like that review, I think it's good business for sure. And it's free. So.
Yeah, that's amazing that you offer that to the community. So thank you for doing that. And I think for a lot of people, when an accident or an incident happens, they're not sure what to do. They're almost like paralyzed. You know, what should I do first? What is your recommendation? Do they call you right away? Do they call their insurance company? Do they call, like, what do you suggest they start with? What are kind of the steps to getting on the road to recovery?
Sure. So, you know, first and foremost, safety, always the number one priority, right? Is everybody safe? Is the family okay? Are the employees okay? You know, safety, number one. Number two is then, you know, trying to just preserve the property, so if if a tree hit the building, we've got a gaping hole in the roof, we know that that's going to be a pretty large part of the priority, is how do we kind of shore that up, stop water from coming in. In terms of contacting us, that's the beauty of the priority inspection program. We've already got it. We've already got the info in our system. We're going to be reaching out to you. We're going to be scheduling our adjusters to get out there. And so that is really nice about being enrolled in that. But if you're not in that, you can certainly contact us right away. You can contact the insurance company right away. I think the key is understanding that when you contact the insurance company, they are going to send someone out, and that person works for them. And so it's just important that you take that into account. And so if you're someone who thinks it would be wise to have someone build your claim package for you, then that's really ultimately the role that we portray. As we come on as your adjuster, we build a claim package. We tell them how much they should be paying you, as opposed to waiting for them to suggest what they'd like to pay.
Well, and I actually have a testimonial because I did use you guys because of Irma. And you're right, the adjuster came from Tennessee or something, and they were just kind of blanketing our county to try and get all these claims looked at and inspecting properties. And, they had said that my claim was not even worth my deductible. So there was nothing there. And you guys got me tens of thousands. So it definitely was a great experience working with you guys. And as you showed on that screen about the stress, having to do it all when you're working and trying to, maintain your life, you're on hold all the time. You don't know who to call. And you guys just made the process so much easier, and the outcome was incredible. So I do have to say that you are just fabulous company to work for, or work with. So I appreciate your assistance with my claim. I know a number
Awesome.
of the other.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know you've worked with a number of the other chambers because their buildings got damaged. So they have such great things to say too. So you definitely are a great resource within, our county here, and I'm sure within the state of Florida. But we thank you, Kevin, for that. I know assignment of benefits was, a huge talking point. I was at a condo that did that, and it's been nothing but a disaster there. Is that something that is allowed anymore? Is that something that people still have to be aware of when some of those, let's say, shady contractors come up and say, yes, just sign your benefits over and I'll take care of everything? Is that still an issue going on here in Florida?
Great question. So last July, so a little over a year ago, the legislature had imposed some new changes to the assignment of benefits arena, and really made it extremely difficult to have a valid assignment of benefits. So it's not impossible, just very difficult. But what we found is a majority of the contractors that were using those as a tool to essentially take hostage of someone's claim, they've now changed the wording of it. And so I don't believe it's as strong anymore in terms of the enforceability. Again, I'm not an attorney, but, based on a lot of the law firms we work with, a lot of the contractors now, they call it a service agreement, a work authorization with a direction of pay, things like that. So I would say the greatest piece of advice is you don't sign anything unless you know exactly what you're signing. And if you have a contractor that's essentially advocating that they're going to do some work for you, we need to know a couple of things. We need to know what exactly are you going to do, spell that out in writing, and how much is it going to cost. And if you can't get those two things in writing on a piece of paper that they're asking you to sign, you probably should take a step back and get some better advice, right? Because where we saw a lot of communities and individuals hurt was contractors would come out, they would sign a document, and then they wouldn't do any work. They would essentially take control of someone's claim. And once you've lost control, you have no say. You can't say, who's going to do what, when are they going to do it, how do they get paid? All that is gone and out the window. And essentially the contractor becomes in the driver's seat. And unfortunately, it was not an advantage for the associations and for the homeowners that fell victim to that. So, when in doubt, do not sign anything you're not exactly sure what you're signing. And if you have a contractor advocating, let's understand exactly what they're going to do and how much is it going to cost. And if they can't put that in writing, I would just take a step back.
Excellent. And so if people are still, you said that they had 3 years to go back for some of the claims. So if people felt like they didn't get satisfaction from a claim that they may have had through their insurance company, they can always reach out to you to have a look at it, to, reevaluate and see if there is something that you could do to assist them, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's absolutely free. It's a free inspection, free advice. We have, I want to say roughly about 65 days left on Hurricane Irma. So believe it or not, yeah, who's counting down, right? So believe it or not, yes, we have a lot of clients, new claims, believe it or not, because they had a large deductible. They didn't realize that it's way over the deductible, or even reopening old claims where they were told to perhaps patch the roof or silicone the windows. And so, anytime that somebody is dealing with any sort of damage, whether it's water damage or mold or a lightning strike or what have you, if you have damage to your property, get some free advice. We're happy to give you free advice. And then if you need our help, we're happy to help you as well.
Well, Kevin, this was great, and I love that priority inspection program that you have, your PIT program. I think that's terrific, and what a nice service for, homeowners and the community to, have that certificate and peace of mind, knowing that, they can produce that and say, no, that was not a pre-existing condition of my property. I had it inspected. It was perfectly fine. So certainly makes the process easier if there is a claim. I also want to thank the City of Palm Bay. They are partners this week with our Disaster Recovery Expo week, and our PRC, Property Renovations and Construction, they are our presenting sponsor. So we certainly want to thank them for allowing us to do this for the entire week. So Kevin, once again, thank you so much. This was fabulous information, and hopefully I won't be calling you soon. No claims, no hurricanes this year, but I have peace of mind now knowing who to reach out to should something happen. So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it with 5-Star Claims Adjusting.
Yes, thank you all very much. It's our privilege, our honor, and we're thankful to be able to help people. So have a great rest of the week.